Europe has seen a rise in anti-Semitism in recent years, and especially during the Israel-Hamas conflict that saw more than a month of bloodshed, particularly in the Gaza Strip. To hear more about it, we are joined from London by i24 News UK correspondent Jonathan Sacerdoti. Good morning, Jonathan. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
Now, as we know, Europe has seen a wave of anti-Semitism recently, and the UK has been one of the focal points, with local officials estimating over 200 anti-Semitic attacks in July alone. What are some of the most recent displays of this activity in Britain?
There's been a number of different ways in which this anti-Semitism has reared its ugly head. They've ranged from banners and chants in many of the anti-Israel protests taking place in London and around the country, which included things like Hitler was right, Heil Hitler, and other Nazi banners and signs, and also the Hitler is right hashtag trending on Twitter. These sorts of things are at one end of the spectrum, and then there are actual physical attacks on Jewish people, whether it's rabbis who've been assaulted, Jewish people in the street who've had things thrown at them, Jewish cemeteries which have been destroyed or vandalized, and the list goes on and on. There's been a large list of individual specific actions which have taken place against Jewish people. And as you say, the CST, the Community Security Trust, which monitors these things and works with the Metropolitan Police, has indicated that there's been a doubling, at least, of these sorts of anti-Semitic attacks recently here in the United Kingdom.
And what are, I mean, this is, as we said, it's not just the UK, but what are governments across Europe doing to help prevent further attacks and to deal with attacks that are taking place?
Part of the problem seems to be that many Jewish people here in the United Kingdom and across Europe feel that the governments aren't doing enough. There seems to be a feeling that this might just go away when the tensions in Gaza and in Israel settle down.
Right.
People will point to other high points of anti-Jewish action and sentiment. The 1980s, the Falangist killing of Palestinians in Sabra and Shatila caused a similar spike in anti-Semitic attacks. In the 1970s, the UN resolution equating Zionism with racism did the same. 2008-9, Operation Cast Lead also saw a rise in anti-Semitic action going on here. 2012, Pillar of Defense in Gaza as well. All of these things seem to produce a spike. And so I think there's a feeling among the Jewish community here that actually the government and the police aren't doing enough because they think it'll just go away. But there seems also to be a feeling that this time it's different, that there's a tipping point which has been reached. And people are very afraid that this won't just go away, and that also those actions in the Middle East don't give any justification for anti-Semitic attacks here of any sort. So people are very concerned that the police aren't taking enough actions. I don't think there have been arrests over those Nazi signs that have been seen clearly on the street. And Jews feel very threatened by any sign that anti-Semitism has become somehow socially acceptable, because Jewish people, of course, in Europe have a history of terrible persecution, and they're very scared that this will happen again. A straw poll reported by the Jewish Chronicle newspaper here in the United Kingdom yesterday, and then quoted by Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mervis on BBC's Radio 4's Today programme yesterday, indicated that nearly 2/3 of British Jews were so concerned about the anti-Semitism here that they are considering their future in this country. Statistics like that, whilst based on a very small straw poll, are somewhat representative of the things I've been hearing from Jewish community here, and they ought to scare very much the government of this country into action.
I see. Well, Jonathan, thank you very much for these comments this morning from London.